Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Premier Injuries Daily Update. We're speaking ahead of Game Week 11 and, of course, the early FPL deadline as Brentford entertain Brighton on Friday evening. So where better to start than Thomas Frank? The Bees boss said that it was a painful 24 hours following the 5-1 drubbing on Tyneside to Newcastle, but he insists that there won't be a repeat of the performance this weekend. Particular, he mentioned the Ethan Pinnock own goal and the two mistakes that brought about the Tynesiders another two goals, and he said that will not be repeated in at least 100 years, so it remains to be seen. Pontus Jansson, he remains out with a hamstring problem, so will Thomas Frank stick with Ethan Pinnock, who was coming off the back of knee and hamstring problems? That was his first competitive appearance since April. Or he has Matthias Zanka Jorgensen on the bench as backup if needed. He could also tweak his formation if so desired. Elsewhere within the squad, Keane Lewis Potter, he recovers from a foot ligament problem. And Christian Norgard, he's been managing an ongoing Achilles issue, tendinitis. He is back outside running, and we're hopefully targeting a return towards the end of October. For Brighton, there are no fresh injury concerns. Jakob Mulder, that's an ACL injury, targeting a comeback next year, probably around about February, March. But of course, the devastatingly sad news that Enoch Mwepu announced his immediate retirement earlier this week after being diagnosed with a hereditary heart condition that was flagged on a recent international trip. Best wishes and our thoughts were him for the future. Elsewhere, Brendan Rodgers, Leicester City. A few updates from the Foxes boss with regards to their game this weekend. Trouble at the back potentially with Johnny Evans. He has a tight calf problem. We know historically he does suffer with a lot of these. A decision on his availability won't be made until the last month. Brendan Rodgers says we do have players who can potentially come into that squad. Who that is exactly remains to be seen. Yannick Vestergaard hasn't been involved in any Premier League squad this season. In fact, only played for the under-21s 3 days ago. He scored an own goal and they lost 7-0 at home to Fulham, so not the best start. Elsewhere, Soyuncu is another player, and asked why Soyuncu hadn't been in contention in recent weeks. Brendan Rodgers said that he had been watching the players day in and day out in training, and he bases those selection on those performances in training. Another option could be Daniel Amati, who we have seen drop into that back line on several occasions recently. Timothy Castagna, he was forced off against Bournemouth. That was more of a precautionary measure. So that's a badly bruised eye, but he should be okay. Papi Mendy suffered a clash of knees in training. And Dennis Pratt, he's managing an ongoing foot problem. Now, both of those players have trained, but they haven't taken part in every session. That seems to suggest that the best that they can hope for is probably a place on the bench. Wilfred Ndidi is still probably 10, 14 days away from a return, maybe even early November for him after that hamstring problem that he picked up on international duty and then aggravated that on his return. I think it was against Nottingham Forest. Elsewhere, quick update, lots of questions with regards to Reece James and will the Chelsea wing-back be involved this weekend? Probably not. Good news is that problem isn't as serious as first thought. There was potential that there may have been some meniscal damage, even ligament damage, but it's not official yet. But I understand, like I say, that maybe this weekend will come too soon, but possibly next Wednesday or even game week 13 is realistic. I have discussed, I think yesterday it was, that I didn't expect Reece James to be in the starting 11 anyway this weekend following his involvement in the Champions League. We did see Cesar Azpilicueta come into that back line last time out against Wolves. For Liverpool, they'll be buoyed by that 7-1 win at Ibrox on Wednesday night. Mo Salah off the bench with a 6-minute hat-trick. That's a new Champions League record. And we also seen Andy Robertson off the bench for 4 minutes. Now that puts him in contention against the champions this weekend. For Arsenal, they're playing in the Europa League on Thursday night. Gabriel Jesus is not part of that travelling squad. It's not linked to that head injury that he picked up last weekend. Nothing too serious. Mikel Arteta said that it was just decision based on what's been happening over the few weeks, and he decided to rest him. So he should come in this weekend on Sunday, fully refreshed from that. Elsewhere, just a quick update on Everton. Lots happening there. We were possibly expecting to see Yerry Mina and Mason Holgate back in contention for the Toffees. Yerry Mina has had another little problem on the training pitches, so that's him out of contention. Mason Holgate is training and training well, according to Frank Lampard, but this weekend comes too soon. Dwight McNeil could be the only change. We're expecting him to be recalled in the absence of Anthony Gordon. He picked up his 5th yellow card against Manchester United, so he will begin a 1-match ban. Abdul Doucouré, he missed out in game week 10 due to family reasons, but he is back. And also Neil Maupay, we do expect him to lead that Toffees front line. Dominic Calvert-Lewin isn't training fully with the squad. He's only taken aspects and part of those sessions. And Frank Lampard said he won't be considered for a start until he gets back to his optimum level. How and when they will do that and when it will happen, he doesn't exactly know, but he will be monitored over the days and weeks coming up to see how he's performing in training. So that's it for now. We will go live on Friday with my main man, Jason McKenna, where we'll be covering the latest team news, injury updates, and of course those predicted 11s. Now we've only have 5 press conferences on Thursday, so again it's going to be a bit of a mad rush. So we're looking at around about 2:15 to 2:20, maybe even 2:30, but keep your eyes and ears open for the socials. Subscribe, and you can check that reminder out once we post that live. Any comments, pop them in the box below, and hopefully you'll have a great game week 11.